Doug Wiley with Police Magazine. I'm here with Rob Harris, here with the Los Angeles Police Protective League. As you well know, one of the major crises in the United States is the lack of attention being paid to mental health issues. Officers across the country are getting called to people in mental health crisis. They vary from people who are either on drugs or should be on some sort of medical medication. And they're causing so many crimes that police are called to these situations when really there are other experts that are better prepared to deal with some of these folks. What do you guys at the PPL talk about when you talk about the mental health crisis?
Well, the first thing we talk about is the system is obviously broken, and that dealing with the mental health crisis, this is a social problem. It is not a police problem. Mm-hmm. Police officers by nature are problem solvers, so we're going to do what is asked of us the best way that we can, but we are not the best tool to be dealing with the mental health crisis. I think you talked about one thing that the LAPPL and LAPD feel is an appropriate response to that, and that's pairing a clinician with a police officer. For LAPD, we call them SMART units. Other agencies have different names. But it really comes down to funding, I think. And it's getting our city leaders, our elected leaders, and even our police leadership to let's start putting our money where our mouth is. Mm-hmm. You've said that it's a issue, that it's a problem for our communities. So let's stop making the police be the problem solvers for that, and let's start putting some money towards things like increasing the number of clinicians and police officers that respond to these. Let's start ensuring that all agencies, big and small, have less than lethal tools available to them, and let's make sure that we can start getting access to the medical information about some of the mentally ill that have had prior violent situations, so police officers know what they're responding to.
Right. So you can look on your MDT and go, "This is a frequent flyer here. We now know we need to bring someone else in with us."
Correct.
Right. One of the things with mental health that I find to be fascinating is that there are so many people who are undiagnosed but are in a mental health crisis.
Right.
Whether it's temporary because they've just had a really bad day, or it's something that's just no one's diagnosed it. It's under the radar. But the police officer called to the scene, they quickly identified that they've got someone in crisis, right?
Right. So I mean, when the police are called, it is because it has reached a critical mass. There's a crisis, and people reach out for the police to get there. The problem is we're not psychologists, we're not counselors, we're not social workers, we're police officers, and so we're going to respond to situations as police officers. We are more interested in the things that led up to that critical mass, to that crisis point, and what can be done 50 yards back to ensure that it never does get to that point. Whether that's getting them properly diagnosed, whether that's ensuring that they have access to the medication that they need, whether that's getting them the proper medication, whatever that is, that's not a police issue, but it's going to take the will of our elected officials, and it's going to take money. It's going to take resources to do that. And frankly, police officers are getting beat down being the sole entity that is expected to fix things like this.
Yeah. Thank you for everything you do for your officers and for cops across the country.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Doug Wiley, Police Magazine.